everybody. This has taken weeks and weeks and weeks to finally come to this, and we're so excited to have you here this evening to our inaugural podcast called ReKonnect to You. And this will be a weekly podcast where essentially talking about the reason why we're here is because of a technology that's absolutely changed our lives. And everybody on this call can attest to that. And anybody who hasn't tried the technology or experienced it, you won't get it, but as soon as you try, you will. And so we're going to be on a journey, and our focus is with the athletic performance, because as an athlete, man, my little story that I had is where I was off hockey for a while and I went back to playing, and I put insoles in my skates and I noticed my edge work was better. And I'm like, how is this possible? And I played Ontario college hockey. I also played rugby and football, and I was a bodybuilder. So when a month after being introduced to technology, my friend Krista Taylor told me to wear this all the time. So I said, are you nuts? I don't wear socks to bed, in which I started wearing socks to bed. Since I started wearing the socks to bed, I noticed the recovery time. And now what was profound to me is when I played in my first tournament wearing this technology and wearing it all the time. I played Friday night, 2 games on Saturday, and I played 2 games on Sunday. And anybody who's played sports know that recovery time could take, 4 or 5 days without any help at all. I mean, you're going to try to take amino acids or something to help, but you're still going to go through the pain. It's a natural process. Well, I was okay on Monday where I was like struggling. Even more recently, I was in another tournament. So Monday I was hurting. Sunday night I was really hurting. I could barely walk. And then by Monday I was 50% decrease in my pain, and everything started coming back. And I still managed to go to the gym that night. And it's been back to normal ever since. So recovery for me is huge. And anybody who's an athlete will totally understand that. And you have to wear it to understand. So, man, I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so thankful that you decided to come and do this with me, Kevin. I'm honored, and it's a privilege to have you with me as a co-host, as we're going to go through this on a weekly basis. Every week is going to be different. We're going to be focusing on something a little bit different every time. And we're just so happy and excited that you're here with us to celebrate. And
well, Normie, I'm happy to be your winger, and I'm so glad we got a great centerman on the call, which is Terry Santana, because you can't have a line without a centerman. So that guy will be coming up in a bit. And for those who don't know me, my name is Kevin.duguay, background sports medicine. And like all of us, it was the encounter with the technology that has profoundly changed us. And I'll just share very quickly, and as we get into, because today's is about Terry and his journey as an athlete, and some questions we have for him and what we've seen. But when I first met Jay 9 years ago, I was introduced to this tech, and Normie was talking about. See, Normie gets so excited he actually forgot to put it up. But this is what we did. See, you're back on the third line now. You're back on the third line. It's okay. So you go ahead, Normie. Put up the prop. Go ahead. You go for it.
So essentially, it's been an evolution with the technology. We've started with an insole, and again, it's pattern-based technology, and it's like a QR code. It touches your skin, boom. Your brain fixes things. So it goes from an insole to a sock. Again, it has the pattern, and most recently, it's a patch, which, as you can see, it's like a thumbprint. So this QR code touches your brain, and it helps to fix things. And I'm not a rocket scientist, and I don't need to know how this works, but I know how this feels. And as a bodybuilder and an athlete, your body and how it responds. Recovery, again, I'm stressing the recovery part because that's what impacted me the most. Yeah. With being able to perform at your best quicker, you're able to practice more. You're able to be in the game more, less injuries more, because when you're injured and you try to play, there's a large or a higher chance that you're going to get hurt again. And that's what we don't want as an athlete.
So as Norm was saying, when I was introduced to Jay from a friend. A lot of us who have come into this technology through a friend. By the way, can I show you something? And I went to this meeting thinking I could help Jay, because I thought I knew a lot about balance and stability. And this patch that Normie showed you, you can see the etching right There we go. Yeah. Right there. You can see the etching on the screen right here, that when that pattern touches your skin, there's an instant change in a part of your body called the brainstem. If you don't know anything about the brainstem, one of its main function is balance and stability. So when I had the privilege of experiencing the science, 35 years of sports medicine got wiped out about balance and stability. And so my questions to athletes became very simple. How important is balance, power, and stability to you as an athlete? And every level I went to, from professional to amateur to weekend warriors to whatever, it was always the same answer. It's really important, Kev. And the next question was even easier. If I could show you something that could, and this was the key word, and this is something we all learn, folks, but shock and awe is very powerful. How I could instantly change and improve your balance, power, and stability. And from that moment when I met Jay, I got home that night and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this tech would change the world. Now, where it's gone to, you're going to hear more about this in the weeks to come. I did not see that. Was not that visionary individual, but from the balance and stability perspective, I could see how it could have a direct implication with my hockey players instantly. And I got very excited. And then as we went on this journey, we start running into people. And the person we're going to bring on now is a very dear friend, who's become a very dear friend. And again, this technology is what's brought us all together. And when you work with teammates that are like-minded about one team, this is the guy. And so, Terry, I would, if you would just share with the group here, that moment when you got the call up to go to the pros, no, just kidding. When you got that first call about how you came into this tech and your initial experience. And we'll start there. And I got a couple ideas where I want to go with this, but so does Norm. But I love hearing people's initial first touch with the puck when they hit the one-timer bar down. And they go, wow. So I want to hear your one-timer bar
believe
down.
It or not,
story.
I did have the odd goal that went bar down. Question. Doesn't necessarily mean I was aiming at the bar. But no, thank you. Thank you guys so much for putting the effort in to put this together. And, when you reached out to me and asked for my opinion, I was honored that you even asked my opinion. But I think it's brilliant that you're, working hard to put this platform together that will, eventually turn into a podcast as opposed to a Zoom call per se. We always run into glitches, and it's something that gives us the fortitude and the ability to strive and try harder and so on. You don't win every hockey game, but it doesn't mean you quit playing hockey, or in basketball or anything. And so I really appreciate you guys asking me to come on for your inaugural call, regardless of how it lands or it takes off from here. I'm just honored to be part of it, and I'll support you guys 150% in whatever you need, whatever going forward, because I consider myself totally blessed when it comes to this technology. And as an athlete, I played up to the junior A level. And then I realized, I played my sort of claim to fame was I played my minor hockey with the great one, Wayne Gretzky, and taught him everything I know. But he took everything I taught him at Pee Wee age and just accelerated like crazy, and I got left behind. So I don't know why that happened, but man, I wish I had the tech back at 12 years old. But no, as an athlete, I played sports my whole life. Right from baseball, football, played high school football. Didn't play basketball, but I played tennis. We grew up with a tennis court at our house. I rode dirt bikes competitively, and I water skied, I slalom skied. I did anything that had to do with sports. I would do, and thoroughly enjoyed trying whatever, downhill skiing, you name it. And then you sort of, as you get older, you hit a certain age where you're like, damn, can't do things the way I used to do it. And it's really upsetting. It's really starting to myth me. And I got to, I was complaining to a couple of guys that I, played hockey with and played golf with and so on. And they're like, oh, well, my nickname's Sainer. Like, well, Sainer, that's the way it goes. When you hit 50, she's all downhill, brother. And I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't like it, and I don't buy it. I got to find something that's going to help me, whether it's food that I intake, whether it's whatever. And lo and behold, I came across this technology. And the bottom line to the technology for me is that my life is just incredibly better when I wear it. So, I got lots of individual stories about, pain. I started playing squash again. And I'm like, okay, if this stuff really helps me recover better, what can I do to beat up my body? And so anybody that's ever played squash, go play squash. You'll figure it out real quick. But I literally beat up my body. And sometimes back in my, 20s and 30s, early 30s, when I was playing squash quite competitively, even if I hadn't played it for 4, 5, 6 weeks and went and played again, I would just absolutely, my glutes were wrecked, my quads were whatever. And I literally had to lift my leg out of bed and, legs out of bed and set them on the floor to get moving. And, for me, getting into the technology and saying, okay, well, if I can start doing things that I used to do, like squash, like water skiing, like all these things that I love to do, maybe this tech will help me recover if I beat up my body. And so, when we were dealing with the prototypes, I said, I'm going to go beat myself up and I'm going to play squash. And I went and bought all new racket, new everything, Yonex, court shoes, top of the line, insoles and the tongue are all sewn as one piece, so it wraps around your foot. I mean, I walk in and my wife says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to play squash again. She's like, you're 52 years old.
I was going to ask you how old you were at the time.
I think it was 53. I think I just turned 53. And I said, well, with these socks and these insoles and stuff, they're supposed to help me recover. I got to beat up my body to test them out. And she goes, you're an idiot, and walked away, I think is what she said, if I remember correctly. Anyways, long story short, I went and I played with a B-level player, and we played for about an hour straight, and he ran my tail all over the court. I managed to win one game off him, and then our games got very competitive toward the end, but an hour was enough. Went in, had a whirly, shower, put on a fresh pair of socks, our wearable technology socks, and went home and had a bite to eat, went to bed. My wife was up in bed watching TV, and I zonked. And I had never slept so well. I zonked. It was on a Saturday. I remember it was on a Friday because it was Saturday. I didn't have to get up. And I wake up and it's like 9, and I'm usually up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what time is it? And she's like staring at me with her hand on her, like this, staring at me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you're afraid to move, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. And so I literally lifted my leg. There was some pain, no doubt, and some stiffness, but it wasn't anything what it was like when I was in my 20s and 30s, when I was a supposedly in shape athlete. And I'm like, what? This is freaky. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna just kick my butt on day 2. I'm gonna be a disaster on day 2. So I kept wearing the socks. I didn't mean to fall asleep in them. I just fell asleep in them. And so I just kept wearing them. On day 2, I'm like, the pain is less, and I actually worked out that day.
Wow.
And so that's what convinced me, just that one thing. So I started wearing it. I thought, there's got to be something to this, because there's no way that would have ever happened. So I started wearing them on a regular basis. But here's sort of the culmination of this story. All of us that have been on here, probably you, Norm, probably you, Kevin, we've always doubted it sometime. Even though we've been wearing it, it's like, okay, come on, does it really make that much of a difference or whatever? So I was enjoying squash so much, I joined. I had been playing for 8 weeks, and I was getting good again. And I was ripping around the court, and I was winning games against B-level players, and I was just loving it again. Anyways, long story short, I race one of those days where you get up and you just can't seem to catch up. You know what I mean? You feel like you're running behind all day long. So I got a game that night, and it's like 5 o'clock court time, and it's like 5:02, and the guys text me, "Where are you? Where are you?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm on my way. Sorry." And my office was only 5 minutes from the place, but I had to still go there, change and everything. I'm going through my bag and getting ready, get my shorts on, and get my racket, my headband, and everything, and I'm ready. And I'm like, "Oh no, where's my socks?" Because we didn't have patches at this time.
Right.
We had socks, and mentally, I was like, "I need my socks." And I'm like, "I don't have my socks," and I'm like, "Ah, man, they're just socks. They're just socks." And so, those of you who played hockey.
Mm-hmm.
As hockey players, when we went on the ice, you knew immediately if you had a bad edge on your skates. I walked onto that court, man, and I felt like I had a bad edge because my court shoes wouldn't take the insoles because they had sewn in insoles. They were sewn right to the tongue.
Yeah.
So I couldn't substitute with an insole out of my dress shoes or anything. They just wouldn't fit. So I went and tried to play. Well, we were rallying around for 15 minutes. Guy hit a front wall drop shot just above the tin that I dug out, in the last 8 weeks, dug out 250 times minimum. Well, I went to get that same shot, and I went into total spaz mode and went off balance and smashed my shoulder, went forward, fell forward, smashed my shoulder into the front wall right on the edge of the tin and the wall, and thought I pushed my shoulder right out the other side, because I was trying that hard to get that shot. Anyways, but I went totally off balance and I wasn't able to regain it. And so consequently, I had a torn rotator cuff and whatever. But was it coincidental that I wiped out? Absolutely not. I had hit that same shot 250 times minimum in the last 8 weeks. But because my balance was compromised and wasn't at its optimal level of what it had been for the 10 weeks that I had been wearing the product prior to and getting into squash and everything else, I had lost balance. And so from that point on, I said, I will never go a day without this technology on, because it optimizes my functionality. Yeah. Now, we've learned a lot since then, but I still play golf. I downhill ski. I'm turning 62 years old this year. I'm doing everything I did when I was in my 30s and 40s. I'm slalom water skiing. I'm doing all the stuff that I did. And you know what the cool part is? Maybe I'm not quite as good as I used to be when I skied and stuff. When you're at a cottage, you ski, 14 times in the same day. But what I do really appreciate is that at my age, I don't get incredibly sore. Yeah. I wear the technology and I recover, and I'm like, wow, you were able to really, really enjoy yourself today, because I didn't have the fear of falling. I didn't have the fear of, going off balance when I'm going through a double black diamond run or something like that. And so I'm absolutely blessed. I'm very blessed from the fact that I don't have any lingering injuries other than concussion damage, which I have a complete brain mapping report from concussion damage that was visible in my brain map. And then 9 months later, they brain mapped me again, and no visible evidence of my concussion damage from hockey wearing this technology. So, from my perspective, from a performance, not necessarily even just sports, but my performance as a human being walking on this planet, I wouldn't go without it. And so I'm kind of like you, Norm. Like I get the idea, like the touch and what it does, and it's a QR code now, and the patches, and sends a message to the brain, and I get all that. But for me, it's really, I didn't care about all that when I started wearing it. I put it on and I tested it. I put it on and I wore it. I put it on. I'm driving the golf ball as far as I've driven it, when I was in my early 30s. Why? Because my rotation's better. Now my technique's better. I mean, it's not, you put this technology on, it's not going to make you a better golfer if you got a terrible swing. It's just going to make you hit the ball harder, farther out of bounds. If that's, where your ball goes when it's slicing or whatever, you're just going to hit it farther out of bounds. But for overall quality and performance for me, in the athletic things that I do, whether it's hunting, which I hike a lot when I hunt, and move a lot through the bush with uneven ground and, sticks and stumps and slippery rocks with moss on them and stuff. man, it's made a world of difference to allow me to still do the things that I do. And I'm hoping, God willing, that I can still do this, 75 years old. I got another good 14, 15 years that I can wear this tech and enjoy life, provided that, internal health doesn't go, but I wear the Defend patch for that, to keep my blood as clean as possible. So I'm very, 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 very fortunate to be able to have been open to look at this technology for me, as a human, wandering this planet and trying to be the best that I can be, both, performance wise and just regular quality of life wise, right? Weekend warrior wise. So awesome stuff. So thank you for allowing me to share. That's the long version.
The
short
version.
Wow.
That's a short version. That's a short version, Sainer. That's a short version.
That's an incredible story. Oh my goodness, man! Like, knowing the way I feel, and I can just imagine how you're feeling. Better to, like a fine wine, you're aging gracefully and better. Do you find that you keep feeling better the more that you?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I look at it and I say, compared to what I felt like when I was 52 and 53, tenfold better, right? I have, I compare myself to other people that are my age.
Yeah.
And I see people that are my age, and people say, good genes, whatever. And that's probably true. There's a certain degree of truth to that, I get. But, what happens to water when it stagnates, when it doesn't move?
Yeah.
Right. And so no different. Well, we can't stagnate. What the product has allowed me to do is keep moving.
Yeah.
What the product's allowed me to do is not be the couch potato, because I can't do it because I'm too sore, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. No, man, when daylight hits, I'm up and I'm ready to rock, and what am I doing today? Well, I'm working for a bit, and I'm going to go golfing, or I'm going to, go downhill skiing in the wintertime. I mean, I skied so much this winter, I ended up buying a 5x7 pass at Blue Mountain because my son lives there. And I said, I'm going to just tear up these hills next year. And I'll be tearing up those hills at 62, barring nothing happens between now and then, but thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, it's just, for me, it's given me a quality and a level of life that I didn't have, 12, 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And where do you see that happen ever?
Yeah. I think you hit a key word there, Terry, as we've learned in this neuro journey about the body. And it was not so much about how you look, does play a role, you can tell aging, but it's how you function.
Sure.
And, when you're able to function better, everything is better. And, as you grew in your journey with this, Terry, do you have, when you started sharing the tech, because this is what happens, folks, when you get, as Terry said, when you get blessed by this tech, you can't not help think about other people who have what we call a neurological inconvenience. And Terry and I have been on some road trips, and I have one. I'm not going to tell it yet, but I wanted, Terry, do you have a favorite athlete story that when you were involved in sharing the tech to this individual or a team, is there one that stands out in your heart for you that, man, that was a pretty sick moment, Kev?
Okay. So yeah, I do. Glad you brought that up, Kev, because the day I went to Toronto to meet you, which I didn't know I was going to meet you, the guy that's working with Vox Sports at the time, I was going to meet you because you wanted to learn about pulse electromagnetic field therapy through your friend in Toronto that my sister found on Kijiji to buy a sink from.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Right? And she's like, what do you do, dear? To my sister. And my sister, well, I do pulse electromagnetic field therapy. And she goes, oh, well, what does that do? And my sister's like, oh, here we go. Okay, well, it oxygenates the cell, and it's based on, pulse electromagnetic field therapy that is magnetic waves, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so she says, well, will this help our athletes get back on the field or back on the ice quicker from injury? And my sister's like, yeah, sure. That's what it does. It helps in healing and so on. And she said, well, you have to meet my friend, Kevin.Duguay. He is a sports therapist, and he's worked with the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Argonauts, and I'm going to have him call you, dear. And I think my sister was going, whatever, okay. 2 minutes later, my sister gets an email from a guy named Kevin.Duguay. And my sister calls me in a panic because his resume is as long as both her arms. And she's like, I don't know anything about sports. And this guy wants to see me. And he works at this place called Fox Sports. And will you come with me? And I said, what's his name again? She's like, Kevin.Duguay. I said, yeah, I'll come with you. I don't know anything about the pulse electromagnetic field therapy, but I want to go to Toronto, and I want to find out whether this Kevin.Duguay guy was related to Ron Duguay, who played for the Rangers.
Right.
And had the best hairdo in the NHL. Like that was when they didn't have to wear helmets and had these long flowing locks just.
Yes.
Oh, hockey player. Anyways, I wanted to see if Kevin was related to this guy. Well, lo and behold, I walk into the office, and out of the office walks Jay. And I had already known Jay. This was in 2015, and I knew Jay since 2008. And he walks out and he's like, Terry. I'm like, I couldn't remember his name, I think. And I think it's Jay, you idiot. I'm like, oh, whatever. So anyways, we got into what he was doing, the insoles, the socks. So I started, he was, asking me, could I go and try and sell some and blah, blah, blah. And of course, I said, sure. And they were prototypes. And so this was in September, but I said, I can't really do anything, Jay, until end of October. I'm moose hunting. I have a fishing lodge and so on. But I'll get some product and I will try and sell it at the Wayne Gretzky hockey tournament. And so I set up this little makeshift booth at the tournament, and I was presenting it as if I can improve people's balance and strength as a parent. And I could sell it on the premise that, hey, this isn't going to make your kid go to the show. But if we can improve his balance and strength and his range of motion, then we're going to reduce the risk of injury. And I saw 2 kids break their neck in hockey. And you don't want to ever see the terror on a parent's face as a coach. You don't want to see the terror on a parent's face when their kid is laying there totally without movement on the ice. It's tragic. And they're normally from off-balance hits. Or they're normally from a hit where the kid doesn't have good balance, so it exemplifies the actual hit itself, right? And so I'm like, if we can improve their balance, so I was doing the lateral dynamic assessment on people, and I was getting parents to do it. And so the first guy that I had when I met that day with Kevin.Duguay, the first guy I get on the phone with is my good buddy Ron Hoover, who played for the Boston Bruins. And he was the captain of Western Michigan. And I called him. I said, Hoovy, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just working out. And I said, oh, great. I'll come and work out with you. I said, okay. I didn't want to work out. I just had something to show him. It was just my excuse to get there. Like, I hate working out. Anyways, I get there and I do the test on him with these insoles. And he's like, what? And he's like, just a minute. So he goes and he gets 3 pairs of shoes and he rips out the insoles on all his shoes. And he sets the insoles down on the ground and says, okay, I'm going to step on these insoles, do it. And he would fail miserably. And I was like, dude, there's something in this pattern here that's doing something. I don't know what it's doing, but stand on him again. And then I'd get him to do it to me. And he's like, WTF? Like, what's going on here? So anyways, I asked him to come to the Wayne Gretzky tournament and bring your laptop and show all these little kids that you're an ex-NHL hockey player and everything. Well, we sold $2,600 worth of product and we didn't even have a price list.
Wow.
We didn't have, we had ladies and parents and moms and dads coming up and we were testing their kids and they were saying, how much are they? And we're like, I don't know, $30. And they said, well, I don't have $30 on me. And do you have a machine, a credit card machine? I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. so I said, there's a cash machine right down there. And so they would go and they'd rip out, $40 in cash and they'd come back and pay cash. And we'd have parents coming up and saying, did you see my kid? He got 2 goals. He didn't fall. And like, this was a tournament. The plays was the beehive play. So everybody just went around like a swarm of bees and chased the puck. And the kid that stayed on his feet the longest was the one that usually scored. So the dad that bought socks for his kid would come up and say, my kid got 3 goals. And I said, yeah, it's because he stood on his feet longer. So anyways, we had a lot of fun with it. And I'm like, Hoovy, there's something here, man. And this was in December of 2015. Yeah. I said, there's something here with this stuff. I don't know what it is, but I said, I'm going to get on the train and I'll learn how to do it or learn how to share it. And I'm going to roll with the company. I'm going to roll with Jay. Then this guy comes up to us and we had this little study that Jay had showed us with plantar fasciitis, that the insoles help with plantar fasciitis. And so we had insoles displayed and stuff. And this guy comes up and he says, well, these things help with plantar fasciitis. And he's all kind of bent over and everything. And I said, yeah, I think so. And Hoovie's like, oh, yeah, they'll help with plantar fasciitis. Like typical NHL hockey player, I'm trying to be as honest as I can be. Oh, yeah, these will help, no problem. So the guy, Hoovie's like, what size are you? Take your shoes off. He's already demanding the guy takes his shoes off. And take the guy's shoes off. He got a large, and Hoovie starts ripping his insoles out. And he starts trimming his insoles. We did the test on him and everything. And the guy says, how much are they? And Hoovie says, well, they're $40, but we'll keep the tax. You just give us $40. And if they don't work for you, come on back and we'll give you your money back. And I'm like, you've already cut them. Like, no, you cut them. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I didn't say that. Like, Hoovie, you just gave this guy a money back guarantee and we don't have one. Like, we didn't have, the company wasn't even established yet. So we watch this guy, he puts in his insoles. He leaves our little booth there and he walks and he goes towards the stairs that go up the mezzanine to the arena. And I watch this guy literally walk away and straighten up.
Yeah.
And I look at Hoovie and I'm like, am I seeing things or did you just see what I saw? Yeah. He said, the guy just straightened up. I said, yeah, it looked like he just straightened up his posture. Anyways, whatever. Said, yeah, I think I saw the same thing. So Buddy goes away. About 15 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, I happen to glance and I look at the stairs and I see Buddy coming back down the stairs. And he's like skipping down the stairs. And I hit Hoovie and I said, hey, get that $40 back. Here comes Buddy. He's going to want the money back. So anyways, the guy comes to the booth and he's literally breaks down into tears.
Wow.
He had been suffering with plantar fasciitis for 8 years.
Wow.
8 years. Why he ever asked that question about plantar fasciitis? We didn't even have a company yet.
Yeah.
Why he ever asked that question, I have no idea. Whether he saw the Vox logo and maybe did some research out while he was at the arena, I don't know. But anyways, he came and he was like, you guys have, like, he was literally like, you guys have changed my life. You have no idea.
Yeah.
I said, dude, we didn't change your life. I said, we didn't even have a money back guarantee, but Ron gave I said, we didn't change your life. I was just looking out for my $40. Come on. So anyways, we had a good laugh over it, but we said, no, we didn't change your life. He said, the inventor's out of Toronto. His name's Jay. He's in Florida on Christmas vacation. We'll get him on the phone and you can thank him. And so we got on the phone with Jay. And that was the first time that a light bulb went off in my head. And I said, the athletic part will be good, but it won't be mind-blowing, because athletes that get an edge don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Athletes that get better at their craft, especially professional athletes, they don't tell anybody other than the people just on their team, right? Amateur athletes don't tell anybody because they're trying to get a contract.
Yeah.
So if they get an edge, they don't tell anybody. But the guy that had the results with the plantar fasciitis, he sang it from the rooftops. There was probably, I'm going to guess, 15 people that he sent from the arena to come and get our information.
Wow.
Wow.
And so I said to Jay, way back when, I said, wellness, man, we got to target wellness. Athletes will come and athletes will be part of it, but they won't be the big part of it. We got to change people's lives like we did with this one guy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this was a hockey dad, and you can bet that all his kids will be wearing it and so on. So, you know, that grassroots beginning, you know, it's one of those things where sometimes you look at something and you test it and you think there's something here, and you just grab on and you hold on as long as you can. And we're seeing the changes. I've seen the changes go since 2015, where I first met Kevin Duguay and realized that he wasn't Ron Duguay's brother. But we've had some fun times on the road, Dugsy. And, you know, I just say to somebody, listen, if you don't believe this and you're skeptical, it's not your fault. It's just the world has programmed you to be skeptical, because we've all been cattled down this path of big pharma modalities that our parents taught us. Right. And so it's really hard to break away sometimes from what your parents have taught you or shown you, and whether we don't do it out of respect or disrespect or whatever. But I just tell people it's okay if you're skeptical. It's not your fault.
So,
Your
Tara,
misfortune.
I want to expand on this thing you said, skeptical, because I'm going to bring up a story that was very powerful for me in our early days in this, and I'll let Terry add his twist because there's something pretty magical that happened at this event. So I just pulled up the post on Facebook, but it's 2016, and we're young kids just learning about this tech, and we get an opportunity to go down to St. Louis, Missouri,
Combine plant,
to the high school combine with football. And if you follow football in the South, it's everything, to the St. Louis Rams facility when they had the NFL team down there. Now, this facility was sick. So we're in there with all these top high school kids showcasing this tech. We got the jump. We have a long jump mat that we're bringing down on the airport, weighed like 50 pounds. It was high density rubber. We were just new kids doing whatever to get out there. And then there's several hundred kids at this combine. And then they took the top players in every position, and they came to our area afterwards learning about this tech. And Terry had this powerful moment with with Terry, I'm going to pause it here because Terry, you don't know Terry, he does great imitations. But when Terry, you got to imagine, you got to see the scene, right? You got this guy in his 50s going up to this high school all-star football player going on a D1 contract, the NCAA football, and he's looking at Terry going, what do you know about football? We're in a different part of the world here. We're working on neurology, but he's looking at Terry's outside, but about tech. And Terry goes into his.
So this guy, Dukes, had to be high school kid, already a locked up B1 ride. He's locked, loaded. He's about 6'4", 6'3", middle linebacker, 245, and no neck.
Small guy.
Yeah, it just goes from his ears to his shoulder.
Yeah.
So I said to him, do you think that you're pretty strong, you're pretty balanced, you think that's important as a linebacker, lateral movement, that sort of stuff? He said, yeah. And of course, all the other high school kids are watching him, right? And I said, well, will you allow me to assess your lateral and dynamic stability? He said, sure. So I proceed to tip him over. And first of all, I'm like, I'm being ready because if I have to block a punch, because I know when I tip him over, whether a right coming over the shoulder or whatever. But of course, all his peers laugh at him. They're giggling and saying, but this guy tipped you over that's 50 some odd years old. And he's like, okay, I wasn't ready. I said, well, this isn't a strength test, because I said, you could probably bench press me. So I'm like, so I'll try it again. I'm going to lift up. All I want you to do is meet my resistance. I'm going to slowly lift up, and all I'm trying to do is unbalance and unplant you. Because as a linebacker, you got to be planted, but you got to be able to move laterally really quick as a linebacker to read the play. So I lift him up and I knock him off balance again, and he's getting red in the face. And I do the dynamic and I pull him forward, no problem, push down on him. And they're all laughing. They're like, and then he turns to all his buddies and goes, he's gonna tip you over too. So he doesn't want to be the only one that's tipped over. So now he's already invited everybody else for me to do the test on him. I didn't even have to do it. So next thing you know, I get him to stand on the insoles, and I literally take two hands and I cannot budge this kid. I'm lifting up to the point where I was thinking I was going to pop a blood vessel on my forehead, and I couldn't move this guy. And his parents came up right away with their wallet open and wanted to pay me for the product. And I'm like, well, we're not here to sell. We're just here to showcase it. But to see remember the one kid, Kev, that added 3 inches to his vertical?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Put his insoles. Another guy did 3 standing broad jumps. Took his shoes.
It was an ex NFL pro player with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
He'd been retired.
He was a running back.
He had this long jump mat, and I think he added like 6 inches to his standing long jump.
Yeah, so we put the tech on him, and he added, after he did 3 jumps with his regular shoes, we put insoles in his shoes, and he put his shoes back on and did the jump. And his first jump, he went 6 inches farther than his best jump out of 3.
It's crazy.
So
that's amazing.
So some of the sports stories are incredible. And, I think that from the athletic standpoint, if you want to be the best, because most athletes, especially at a high level, they know all their metrics.
Yeah.
They know beyond a shadow of a doubt what their personal bests are. I mean, Cody Crowley, the number 5 ranked boxer that just won. Now he's got a title shot. Kevin and I went to see him the first time in Las Vegas. And we just told him, we put the tech on him and his trainer and said, guys, you know what your metrics are. See what you improve. Well, he did his velocity of force when he had the tech on, and he had a 17% improvement in his velocity of force, which is driving a punch. Well, I went and tested all this stuff myself on an ARX machine in St. Catharines, and I had like 29% increase in power and everything with this stuff on. So I was testing it myself and watching these athletes. Now, athletes that are looking for, 2 and 3% increase is huge, but we're showing them 10, 12, 14, 15% increases. It's unheard of. And so I believe that it will get to the point where athletes that aren't wearing our tech will be conspicuous by their absence.
Yeah.
Wearing it.
Yeah.
And because everybody's going to have to level the playing field again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that an athlete that wants to be their best, I mean, athletes are tough because, like the Sidney Crosbys of the world, they want to wear the same pair of underwear they wore in Bantam, right? Even at pro level, because there's a superstition attached to it, right? But
absolutely,
if you can get them convinced to try it, not only when they're playing, but try it while they're sleeping, because what's important for athletes is recovery. Recovery is huge. And where do you get recovery? When you have good sleep, when you have deep sleep.
Terry, you bring up I'll close this, and Normie, I'll leave you with, I got to give Norm the mic because it's his birthday. But I had a meeting with one of my peers who's the head therapist for the Toronto Raptors. And he goes, and Terry's point spot on. He goes, Kev, do you know how important sleep is? Yeah, I have an idea. What's your take? It's everything, man. Because if an athlete can't sleep, as Terry just said, they can't recover, they can't repair, and they can't rebuild. And when you're playing back-to-back games and you got to travel, or you're playing 3 games in 5 nights, and the demands physically, emotionally, everything, any type of edge that you can get to help extend your ability to play at your best. And for pro athletes, the lifespan is very short. Yeah. Some of us on this call have played at that level. I've been blessed to work at that level. You may not know this, but some sports, the lifespan is 2.5 years. That's it. It's like a cup of coffee going, what happened? There's another whole tens of thousands coming up the pipe. Yeah. So it's pretty profound. So Norm, do you have anything you want to share with Terry before I knew this was going to go more than 30 minutes. It's like,
yeah, you know what? It's just amazing.
We're going to work to keep it under an hour, folks, for 47 minutes. Everybody. I promise. I told Normie we got to make a cut sometime here. So, birthday boy, yes. So blessed to have this idea, and I want to take my hat off to Normie for coming up with this idea. And we are the people on this call. We have an amazing team culture, and Terry's, that's his background. That's my background. Normie's been there. Some of you I never played a team sport in my life, Kev, but I sure like this team because you guys all like to help each other. Yeah, because that's what a winning team does. I was blessed to be part of the Edmonton Oilers organization when Terry played with a guy that left him in his dust. Okay, Wayne Gretzky. Okay. And when you're part of a dynasty, you don't want to leave, man.
No. You
don't want to leave. You'll take a pay cut to leave. Pay cut to stay, I should say. Why? Because you're on a winning team. And that's really special about what we have been developing here and working hard at. And the guy that you heard from tonight has been a key part of that concept and that mindset that we brought to this team, because that's what's really important in a mission to win the Stanley Cup, which is our mission to get to 1 billion people.
Absolutely.
We need people. So Norm, back to you, and then we'll closing comments, and then we'll let people get back to the hockey game at 7:00. We're just kidding. It's
right.
Okay.
No, I was thinking there about this technology. So asking both of you, would you say that if an athlete is wearing our technology, do you think it can improve their lifespan in their sport that they're playing?
100%.
I
believe that our technology reduces the risk of injury.
Wow.
And most athletes retire because they've had too many injuries, whether it's concussion. I mean, Ron Hoover is a prime example. Unfortunately, he took a bad slap shot and had pins in his ankle and a plate in his ankle. But had he had the technology, he might have been able to get back to the level that he had before the injury, right? So it's not just about performance; it's about longevity.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and the prime example is me being able to do what I'm able to do that I wasn't able to do 10 years earlier.
Well, Terry, you bring up a good point. Like, I mean, I people we've shared with, I mean, I still have pro athletes are still playing. And they know that this tech has added life to them to get, Kev, I get paid to play hockey. I want to keep getting paid to do that for a long time. And some of us have never made it to that level, and that's okay. But you listen to Terry's story about, man, I want to be able to go walk with my dog again. I'd like to go back to skiing again. I'd like to be able to walk again. The number of athletes Terry and I and Normie, I bet, and some of you on this call, there's a lot of pro guys I work with. They don't walk properly anymore. Forget running and skating. Their bodies are like shot. But I've shared this tech and Terry and all of us, and they go, and some of you are on this call. I'm not going to call you out. That's your story for another time. I'm going to save it. And they're going, I got back on the ice, Kev. Yeah. I never thought I'd be able to get back on the ice. And whether you're a weekend warrior, playing with guys that you played with younger or girls that you played sports with, and you're able to stay active. And Terry brought this up, really key point on water, stagnant water. The human body was made to move. Yeah. Every system requires movement. You stop moving, you start dying. I'm very black and white. We've learned so much in this journey, and the people we have on this team about mobility and motion and function. And you're going to hear more about this in the weeks to come. And we've got some really cool people who are going to be coming on the podcast as we're learning through this process. So we knew we had a game tonight, and we showed up. And it may not be the podcast, but that's coming. And Normie's working hard, and and so we're excited about what we're bringing to help all of us. You don't have to be an athlete. Terry brought this up on the call, Coach Sainer, about leveraging. Yeah. You don't have to be a hockey expert or a football expert. You just got to work together, and we work together as a team, and we'll all help. Why?
But
because
I think the key factor is here for sure for athletes.
Yeah.
Professional, amateur, kids. It's not always about the importance of performance, because there's a lot of parents that don't necessarily think about their kids going and playing at a professional level. They look at it and say, my kid's having fun. Yeah. My kid's having fun. And we can't lose sight of people play sports to have fun. I started playing hockey and everything because I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah.
It started to suck a bit when it got so serious, to be honest with you. But we can't forget that, the little kids, whatever, get our tech on them and make them safer. Make them safer in their game. So let them allow them through our technology to play the game longer, Norm. Look at you, 52 years old, playing hockey again and going to a tournament and playing 4 games in 3 days. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So will it make the longevity of your sport or your career, whether amateur, fun league, weekend warrior, professionally, longer? I believe 100% it will, because you can keep your body functioning at an optimal level, you're going to play your sport longer, period.
Absolutely. That's amazing, man. Kevin, Terry, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I look forward to next week. We're bringing the next episode. It's going to be an exciting ride. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight as well. And thank you from all of us at ReKonnect.
Thanks for having me on.
Have an amazing night.
You guys are amazing.
Absolutely my pleasure.
If anybody wants to connect with us or Terry, if they want to reach out back to you and learn more and share more, what's the best way for people that are new here to find you out there in social media land? What's a good place for them to reach you?
For me, Kev?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can reach me either right through Facebook.
Yeah.
They can just look up Terry St. Amand, STAMAND, and or they can reach out to somebody. I'm sure there's somebody that knows me. They can look for my cell phone, 519-754-5072. I don't care who has my cell phone. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Email, Messenger, Instagram. I'm there, and I'm happy to help anybody or share. Or if you've got an athlete in your home that you want to talk, if it's not me, I can make arrangements to have Ron Hoover, who's now working corporately on the athletic side. He's always a great guy to have in your corner to talk to athletes. But most definitely, this is not just to be worn. It's certainly an incredible technology to wear from a sports perspective, but it's the technology you need to wear to be your best every day, all day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So great job, guys.
Thank you.
Anything? Okay. Thank you so much. We'll stick around after the recording if you have any questions. Otherwise, thanks for being a part of it. Feel free to share. We'll get the link up, and we're looking forward to more exciting stories, more locker room stories, more life-changing moments with
Absolutely.
this amazing technology that you'll be hearing more about in the weeks to come. So Norm, Terry, thank you so much. Great to be part of this starting lineup.
Hello, and thank you for watching. We truly hope that you found value in what we shared with you today. And if you'd like more information, please feel free to reach back to the person who brought you here, or email us at info@reconnecttoyou.ca. Look forward to hearing from you.